Whenever you think of Hawkeye, you might just imagine the charismatic superhero from the Avengers movies. With a simple smile, he loyally followed Cap and the other heroes, whatever the risks may have been. He nearly even made the ultimate sacrifice, as he threw himself off the top cliffs on Vormir in order to ensure that the universe would be saved. But there's another part to Clint Barton's story that you might not have seen. It's his childhood. From a very young age, Clint Barton was the victim of relentless verbal and physical abuse from his father, being orphaned before he was 12, and eventually, the absolute betrayal when his brother abandoned him. Today, we're going to take a look at Barton's early years and see what type of life could create such a superhero. Clint Barton was born in Iowa. He had a brother, Barney, and together the pair lived in daily fear of their father. Their dad was kind enough on the good days, but on the bad ones, when he stopped by the store to pick up a few packs of beer, he would come home and look for someone to fight. More often than not, it was Clint who was the one he chose. With a metal mason ring on his middle finger, Clint's father would mercilessly punch him, leaving him with black eyes and bruises all over. He survived for a while, just hoping for the day that his father would be sober. Clint and his brother Barney's bond grew closer and closer, and on one fateful day, they ended up being the last of the Bartons. While drunk driving, Clint's father and mother struck a tree, and both perished in the accident. That left the two boys without parents, and with no other guardians willing or able to take the two in, Clint and Barney went to an orphanage. They stayed there for 6 years, and even though they were placed with foster homes a time or two, the boys were too much trouble for any family to put up with. One day, while wandering around the courtyard of the orphanage, Barney decided that enough was enough. He had lived for nearly a decade as a punching bag for his father, and 6 more years in the hellish orphanage. He was nearing the age of 18, almost an adult. Why should he have to wait any longer before he was free? So he hopped the fence and ran off to the circus in the valley below. Clint wasn't quite sure about it. He even hesitated, saying, Barney, slow down, I don't think we..." And he trailed off. But his brother basically told him to just man up and follow. So that's exactly what Clint did. Clint followed his brother, and together, the pair got jobs with the circus. They started humbly enough, shoveling elephant dung and disposing of it. But eventually, they met some of the talents, like the original swordsman, and learned techniques that they'd eventually use in combat. At one point, Clint learned that the swordsman was stealing funds from the circus, and he confronted him about it. The villain beat Clint up so badly that Barton ended up in the hospital, and when his brother Barney found out, he didn't have any sympathy for his sibling. Instead, he wondered why Clint would even care about the circus's income. After all, they never paid the staff right anyway. It was at that point that the last living member of Clint's family, his brother Barney, walked out on him, but not without an offer. Barney was going to join the army, and he wanted his brother to come. But on the day he left, with his brother nowhere to be seen, Barney just got on the bus and went without him. While at the hospital, a villain known as Trickshot visited Clint. A master archer, Trickshot promised to train Barton in the use of a bow and arrow, but in truth he had an ulterior motive. He would use Barton to pull off some robberies. At one particular robbery, Trickshot and Clint arrived at the home of some mobsters. While Clint was patrolling the outside, he noticed a group of thugs moving in on him and let loose a few arrows. When he approached the bodies, he realized that one of the gangsters was in fact his brother Barney, who happened to be working undercover at the time. Clint had nearly killed him, all because of Trickshot's deception. Just like he confronted the swordsman, Clint decided that he would do the same to Trickshot. But once he told the old archer that enough was enough, the villain fired 4 bolts directly at Clint, severely wounding Barton. It was only a short time after this that Hawkeye decided to don his own purple suit and become a low-level supervillain, and a smaller leap still until he turned coat and became a hero.